All right, I'm going to show you guys how to put together a single photo of an entire action sequence. So one thing that's going to be different when they help us line our photos up and line the background up, since especially if you don't have access to a tripod or camera mount or something like that, whenever you have your photos and you know where they're saved, open up Photoshop and go to File. Instead of Open, we're going to go to Automate. And then we're going to go down to this one that's called Photo Merge. So File, Automate, Photo Merge. So what this is usually used for is a panorama shot where there's photos that have information that they have in common. Photoshop can kind of stitch them together, but I'm going to uncheck this one right here. This is very important. I'm going to uncheck blend images together. With that unchecked, it'll actually load them into a stack rather than all one thing. So you need to make sure you know where your photos are. I know exactly where mine are, so I'm going to be able to grab them right here. And you want to grab all of them. So to grab more than one, you can hold down Command and continue to click. So right now I'm holding down the Command key and continue to click on each one of them. So I've got 5 right here that I all want to choose. And I'm going to click Open. And then I'm going to click OK. So this will take a little bit of time because it's going to make sure that it's lining up all of the images together. So we got to let Photoshop do a little bit of its magic, and you can see over here it is loading them into a stack. So we've got all these different layers. Okay, so it's got it all loaded there, and we can see going from one layer to the next, it did a really good job of everything other than the subject is lined up, and that's the main thing that this is doing for us. So now that we've got all these different layers, we need to only see certain parts of the image. So I've got all these layers as backgrounds, and they should all line up. So for these layers that are on top, I only want this part of it, okay? And to do that, but to not make it permanent, we're gonna do masks like we have been. So this top layer, all I really wanna keep is my subject. So I'm gonna use the lasso tool, okay? So I came up here and clicked on the lasso tool, and I'm going to click and drag to draw my lasso around my subject. And this is going to be a selection once I make it all the way around and let go. Okay, so you see that selection there, freeform selection, but I want to mask this part of it. So once I have a selection, I want to come down to my mask button, and it actually, if you see right there, it makes it to where the only part that shows through is the part that had selected. Now we see there's some overlap here, so we're going to deal with that in a minute. But now I need to go down to the next layer and do the same thing. So I'm going to turn this one off. I'm going to click on my next layer. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to go pretty quickly because it's just going to be repeated steps. One thing you may notice is if there's something like shadows. So I just noticed a shadow there. You generally want to keep the shadows so that things look correct. All right, click on the mask button. There we go. We can see the next layer. Turn that one off. Click on the next layer. Use the lasso tool again. I see my shadow on the floor there. So I'm going to keep that shadow. Mask. Next one. Click mask again after the selection, and we've got them there. So turn all these layers back on so we can see everything. So this is already looking really good. We just need to get in there and clean up these things right here. Now, notice I did not do it for the last layer, because if I do, let me just show you. If you kind of forget and accidentally do this, and you mask all of your layers, then you don't have a background. You just have all these pieces. So we got to make sure that our last photo on there, we're not going to mask it, okay? We don't want to mask our last layer there. We want to make sure that we keep that as a whole photo so that it can be the background that we line everything else up on. Okay, so now what we're going to have to do is get in close and pay attention layer by layer. We're going to have to use our eraser, paintbrush, however it is that you've been working with it, to clean things up in here. Okay, so I'm using